we're back in the kitchen. Welcome back. And I have a special guest chef today. That's right, my husband Ruben. So Ruben is actually going to show you how he makes his frijoles because mine never turn out as good as his does. And I know I put one in one of my videos not too long ago, but you have to see the master in action. There you go. So I'm going to turn it over to Ruben.
Hey everybody, thank you so much. I want to thank Vicki-Lynne for having me on her channel. This is my first time, so bear with me and stuff. But I do have a great recipe. This recipe actually came from my grandmother. Again, my grandmother was the quintessential tiny little Mexican grandmother with the long braids and the very colorful clothing. I don't look Mexican, but my father was from Mexico, my mom from Ohio. But anyway, both of them taught me a lot of good food. So anyway, what we're going to do is make just simple frijoles that we're going to put over some tortillas and stuff. So we already diced up some onion here. We're going to put it in a stove, and I know Vicki-Lynne usually doesn't like cooking with oil, but for this recipe, we're just going to put a little bit of oil. I just put a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil in the saucepan to let heat up. And then what I'm going to do is, of course, I'm just going to add the onions and jalapeno peppers that I diced up. And already you can hear it sizzling, which is great. And we're going to stir those around. We're going to be using a spoon actually because these are going to be beans. So we're just going to get a nice little caramelization on the onions. And then let those jalapenos sweat. And while those are doing that, I'm actually going to get some garlic that I'm going to mince up and throw in there, but not too soon because I don't want the garlic to burn and then get bitter. Alrighty. So what we did was we added some nopales, and again, you guys could get nopales, you know, from a Mexican grocery store and stuff. Tender cactus is what it is, and they come in almost looks like green beans, as you can see. That's why they call them rajas. So they're sliced and stuff. But these also add a nice taste. You know what you do when you get them? They're very salty, so you got to drain them and then rinse them with cold water to get some of the salt off. Although we will be adding salt to this little recipe a little later on once the beans go in. But again, it gives the beans a little more body to them. And I guess, like I said, the tender cactus, the nopales, again, also gives a little bit of sweetness to the beans. So, boy, I'm starting to get the jalapenos. Woo! Hits you right in the back of the throat. That's great. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to add my garlic. And what I did was just, diced about 3 large cloves. So that's a couple tablespoons maybe of garlic. And as soon as that goes in there, oh, you can smell the garlic already starting to cook, and boy, that's a lot of nice flavor to this dish, that's for sure. So if you don't have fresh garlic, you could use the jarred garlic and stuff, but I wouldn't recommend garlic powder. I would actually use either the minced garlic that you got in a jar or fresh garlic. But we love garlic and everything. We're just going to let that saute now for just a little bit. Let that garlic cook down a little bit, bring out its sweetness and stuff and all its flavors. So what we have here again, as you can see, we have a nice thick base. We have our caramelized onions, we have our garlic, we have our nopales in there that are sweated down a little bit. It's giving off a great smell and stuff. So, and as you do this, and if it starts sticking to the pan, just add a little bit of water. And later on, we're going to be actually adding a little bit of vegetable cubes that Vicki-Lynne makes, and we'll show you that in a minute. But yeah, if it starts sticking, just add a little bit of water and stuff. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our beans. So today we're using regular canned Pinto beans that you could get at any Mexican store.
Or really any store.
Or any store, really. And we're going to add 2 of the large cans because what we do is we make this and we have it for the week. You know, or certainly for a bunch of meals, so it really works out great. So we're adding 2 of the cans, and now what I'm going to do is Alrighty, I'm going to actually get some water. Just put about a couple, 3 or 4 ounces of water in there, because really what I want to do is make sure that I get all this nice liquid and stuff, the flavorful liquid from the bottom of the can. The aquafaba, I think it's called.
Yep. He's learning, guys. He's learning.
We're trying. And so, I'm going to make sure we get it from both cans. We're actually, and another reason we're doing this is we're just actually adding liquid or some moisture to the beans and stuff, because these are going to cook down for a while. We want to get this really nice and creamy and thick, and so you'll see that right now it's pretty watery and stuff. I'm going to fold all that in and make sure that all that, the nopales and the onions and stuff get all over. As you can see, this liquid, nice and creamy, but we want to get it even thicker than that, because what happens is you cook this nice and slow and it reduces, it gets more and more flavor, and then that liquid turns creamier and creamier, and it gives your beans a beautiful creamy taste. We're just going to add some salt.
And again, if you're SOS and you don't use salt, then you can just leave this out. But this is his way.
Yep, we just added some salt. And then as this thickens up, we're going to add a few of those vegetable cubes that Vicki-Lynne makes. So, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is grab the rest of these nopales and make a little side recipe for you guys real quick. So, while those beans are just cooking there in the background, what I have with the leftover nopales out of the can, just putting it into this bowl here real quick. And again, this is just nopales with already, that comes with onions, and actually in there is some jalapenos that are in there.
That's a serrano.
Yeah, or serrano I should say, sorry, thank you. And so,
because I read the can.
Then what I have is we actually buy pico de gallo. We also make it. I know Vicki-Lynne has put recipes out there, but basically, obviously, this is pico de gallo, which is the tomato, the jalapenos, onions, in lime juice and stuff. All is very delicious. We love having this around, so I'm just adding some of this to the nopales. It's also got cilantro in there. You mix it up, and that quickly, all of a sudden now you have yourself a delicious nopales salad, a cactus salad. This is bright, flavorful, a little spicy depending on how much jalapeno you put in there and stuff. And I mean, this is just delicious.
No oil, no fat.
Exactly.
It's a great 50-50 because that could be your non-starch.
Yep. And it tastes delicious, folks.
Sure does.
It's a niceness. And once you have this, you could actually grab a couple spoonsful of this and put it into a dish, break off an egg or two in there, scramble it, and put it in a frying pan. And now all of a sudden you got a nice little omelet with nopales. It's a really good recipe.
So as you can tell, Ruben isn't vegan because he still has eggs.
Oh, sorry about that. I forgot.
So that's how he has his sometimes.
That's how I have mine sometimes, yeah.
And he also does put on, sometimes he puts on
queso fresco. This actually, the recipe usually for a Mexican cactus salad for an ensalada and nopales usually comes with a nice queso fresco that they break off in chunks and stuff.
But he leaves it out so that I can have the salad too.
Alrighty, so again, this is starting to thicken up and get nice and creamy, as you can see. Still a little watery, but we want to let that cook down. But we also want to add a little more flavor. So what I'm going to do is, as you guys probably know, Vicki-Lynne makes these ice cubes that she makes out of all of her leftover vegetables. So this is almost like a vegetable stock, and it's just wonderful to have these ice cubes. And we're actually going to plop just a few of them in here to add a little, again, keep adding a little moisture to this. And again, this is going to cook down. So I'm just adding a few of the stock ice cubes. Those are going to cook down and just keep adding more layers of flavor. Alrighty, so we're back, and as you can see, this is thickened up nicely. As you can see, look at this. Now the creamy, it's like so creamy and thick. And the great thing about this is every time it sits in your fridge with the leftovers, it gets nice and thicker. So as we have this throughout the week, it stays and gets even more delicious. So just going to stir that, leave this cooking for just a little bit. Now we're going to start our tortillas. So we have our tortillas. Unfortunately, we have an electric stove, so we just put ours in a little pan here and just get them nice and hot and pliable. And we're going to just let those cook for a few minutes, and then when we come back, we're going to build these our dish here for you to see. So now what we're going to do is going to build it. And what I do for myself anyway is I get one tortilla, and as you can see, this stuff is nice and creamy and still bubbling. I'm going to put some right on here. And then what I like doing is putting a little bit of the accoutrements, which is a little bit of red onion, a little bit of cilantro, and then I put my salsa verde, which is nice and hot. This is a nice hot sauce on there. And then what I'm going to do is put my second tortilla on here. As you can see, it almost forms a bowl. Once again, I'm going to put the topping, the beans, right on there. A nice scoop. Get some of this beautiful creamy sauce that makes the tortilla nice and soft. And again, a little bit of red onions. Gives it a nice flavor, a little bit of cilantro on there. As you can see, it's already looking beautiful. I like to put in a couple of radishes, and I like everything spicy. You'll find that out for me pretty quick. And then, of course, my jalapeno, my salsa verde. A dollop of that. Again, that's nice and spicy. It's a beautiful salsa verde that they make. And then a little dollop of our guacamole right on top too. And look at that. And then for myself, again on the side, some nopales salad right on there. And I'll tell you folks, if you think about it, if you look at all the calories we have, ooh, that plate's hot. Anyway, the nopales salad, very, very low calorie. Again, the beans, the tortilla, the accoutrements that are on there. This whole plate, filling, delicious, but it doesn't have a lot of calories. Alrighty, I want to thank everybody, of course, Vicki-Lynne, for allowing me to share my culture and my grandma's recipe with everybody. So we got this wonderful dish here that we're going to enjoy. And again, thank you everybody for joining us today.